we bought this hotel in 2005, and in a bankruptcy auction in federal court. We had never owned a hotel before, and we opened it immediately because in bankruptcy court you end up paying for it in 10 days and taking possession. And it was kind of a 2+ star kind of hotel. We swept the floors. It wasn't in bad shape. And then we began making plans for closing it and renovating it and reopening it as more of a luxury property. And as we embarked on that journey, the economy began to crash. And I often say that we opened the hotel in the spring of 2009, and that was really arguably the worst moment you could open a hotel in the last 50 years. And my family is involved in things in community. At that point, not so much in Miami because we weren't here so long, a little bit, but very much in New York. My sister has devoted her life to working in not-for-profit spaces and in creative spaces. And it struck me all of a sudden, I think a couple of things struck me. One, it's a terrible time in the world. And I remember participating in a conversation with a great New York restaurateur, Danny Meyer, who described running restaurants after 9/11 and the important role that restaurants played in a terrible moment in the world. And business wasn't great. You had to kind of tweak the menu to make it more affordable for some people. But most importantly, it became a really important place for healing, because people come together, and if you're in a communal spot, even when you're sad, it makes you less sad or helps you deal with the sadness. And Danny described that in post-9/11 environment in some of his restaurants. I carry that with me today. And in the spring of 2009, I was saying to myself, we're opening a luxury hotel. It seems kind of a odd and slightly uncomfortable juxtaposition of having luxury at a moment when, frankly, a lot of the world's in duress economically. And then we layered on top of that this idea that what if we had a hotel whose whole raison d'etre was doing things in the arts, enhancing guests' experience. Got to provide a great bed, maybe a fantastic bed, and fantastic pillows, and clean rooms, and great service, and all those things. But experientially, maybe there was an opportunity to do something more. So it was kind of the juxtaposition of challenging time and what we were about to go do, and personal familial interest in the arts. And I should emphasize also, when I sat out front of the Betsy, which is still one of my favorite things to do, and watch people go by, I often say that Miami stereotypes itself as a place of hard bodies and bikinis and sand and sparkly stuff and superficiality, and I rush to say that that's all true, but it only represents kind of 50% of what Miami and Miami Beach are. And if you look at the people walking by, they're, even just looking at them, they're really interesting and interested people from all over the world. And if you begin to poke around Miami, Art Basel began 15 years ago, but I was observing the construction of the New World Symphony and the Arts Center and the Perez Art Museum and the Frost Museum of Science, and I'm leaving many other things out. Miami Beach Urban Studios, FIU's facility here in Miami Beach. There's just so much going on culturally that I thought actually, and I believe this today, that Miami Beach specifically, and Miami more generally, does not as good a job as it should expanding the way it thinks of its brand as being really one of the great cultural centers of the world. And I thought that we could make a small contribution to that, and it's turned out that that's resonated in the community, and it's resonated with our guests, and it's frankly resonated with the press and people from around the world who had been interested in this more complex and what shouldn't be surprising story about what exists on Ocean Drive in Miami Beach.